Imagine a hunger so deep it feels like a living thing coiled inside your stomach. Not the hunger you feel when you miss lunch or when the meeting runs late. I am talking about a hunger that sharpens your vision, that thins your blood, that turns a 12-year-old boy into a vibrating wire of desperation. This is where we begin. You are standing in the shadows of the sanctuary of Artemis Orthia. The air is heavy, thick with the smell of pine resin, unwashed bodies, and the metallic tang of old dried blood that never quite scrubs out of the limestone. It is high noon. The sun of Laconia is a hammer beating down on the back of your neck. You are Lykos. You are 12 years old. And you are starving. You have not eaten a full meal in 3 weeks. The elders give you just enough black broth to keep your heart beating, but never enough to silence the growl in your gut. They do this on purpose. They want you hungry. They want you desperate, because a full belly makes a man slow, but a starving dog hunts. And today, the hunt is right in front of you. In the center of the courtyard, upon the raised altar of the goddess, they have piled the cheese, wheels of it. Great, heavy rounds of goat cheese aging in the heat. The smell is intoxicating, pungent, salty, rich. It drifts across the stone pavers and hits you like a physical blow. Your mouth floods with saliva. Your knees actually tremble. It is the most beautiful thing you have ever smelled. But between you and that altar stands a wall of muscle. They are the mastigophoroi, the whip-bearers. Older men, veterans, their skin like tanned leather, their arms thick as tree limbs. In their hands they hold the whips, strips of cured oxhide weighted at the tips, distinct and cruel. They stand relaxed, chatting, laughing, but their eyes are scanning the perimeter. They are the guardians of the prize. This is the game. The rules are simple, brutal, and absolute. Rule 1. You must steal the cheese. It is your duty. To take what is not yours is the mark of a Spartan. It shows initiative. It shows cunning. Rule 2. If you are caught, you will be punished, not because you stole, but because you were slow, because you were clumsy. In Sparta, there is no sin in taking. The sin is in being seen. Lykos crouches low. The stone beneath his bare feet is searing hot. He looks to his left. His shield brother, Brasidas, is there. Brasidas is wider, stronger, but Lykos is faster. They lock eyes. No words, just a nod, a pact. They will rush together. Chaos is their only cover. Your heart hammers against your ribs like a trapped bird. The world narrows down to a tunnel. At the end of the tunnel is the cheese. Brasidas screams, a high, piercing war cry, and charges. The whip-bearers turn, their faces splitting into savage grins. They have been waiting for this. They raise the ox hides. Lykos moves. He does not scream. He stays low, a shadow darting across the sun-bleached stones. He sees Brasidas take the first hit. It is a sickening sound. Crack, like a branch snapping in a storm. The whip wraps around Brasidas' shoulder, tearing the skin, spraying a fine mist of red into the air. Brasidas stumbles but keeps running, diving for the altar. The guards swarm him. This is the opening. Lykos accelerates. He pushes his legs, thin and corded with muscle, to their limit. He vaults over a low stone bench. He is 10 feet from the altar, 5 feet. A shadow falls over him. One of the whip-bearers has seen him. The man is huge, a giant, blocking out the sun. He does not shout. He just swings. Time seems to slow down. You can hear the whistle of the leather cutting the air. You can see the dust motes dancing in the shaft of light. Lykos throws himself forward, sliding on his chest across the grit. The whip misses his back by an inch, snapping the air where his head was a fraction of a second ago. The sound is deafening, a thunderclap right in his ear. He scrambles, fingers clawing at the stone. He reaches up. His dirty, calloused hand closes around a wedge of cheese. It feels heavy, greasy, wonderful. He yanks it free, but he is not fast enough to escape the second swing. The lash catches him across the calves. It is not a sharp pain, not at first. It is a blinding white shock. It feels as if a hot iron bar has been pressed against his legs. The force of it knocks the breath out of his lungs. He gasps, inhaling dust. But he does not drop the cheese. He rolls, scrambling to his feet, ignoring the fire running up his nerves. He sprints for the perimeter, clutching the prize to his chest. Behind him, the laughter of the men rings out, mixed with the wet slapping sounds of leather meeting flesh. He dives into the olive grove, into the safety of the shade. He does not stop running until his lungs burn as much as his legs. He collapses behind an ancient gnarled tree. He looks at his legs. A red welt, thick as a finger, is rising across his calves, already weeping blood. It throbs in time with his heartbeat. The pain is a dull, rhythmic ache that will keep him awake tonight. But then he looks at his hands. There it is, the cheese, crumbled slightly, covered in his own sweat and dust, but there. He breaks off a chunk and shoves it into his mouth. The taste is indescribable. It tastes of salt and fat. It tastes of survival. He eats it frantically, barely chewing, choking it down before anyone else can come and take it from him. As the food hits his stomach, the pain in his legs seems to recede, just a little. He leans his head back against the bark of the olive tree and closes his eyes. He has learned the lesson. It is written in the blood drying on his skin. The world does not give. The world only guards. If you want to live, you must take. And if you want to take, you must be willing to bleed for it. Lykos licks the grease from his fingers. He is still hungry. The cheese was just a morsel, but the hunger has changed. It is no longer just for food. He looks back toward the sanctuary, where the screams of the slower boys are still rising into the hot afternoon air. He feels a strange, cold hardness settling in his chest. He survived. They did not. But as the sun begins to dip low, casting long, skeletal shadows across the valley, a chilling thought creeps in. This was just a game with whips and cheese. Tomorrow, the game ends. Tomorrow, the altar awaits not for a thief, but for a sacrifice. Tomorrow, the whips will not stop when you run away. The sun sets, and the sky turns the color of a fresh bruise. The real test is coming. And this time, you cannot hide in the olive groves. The taste of the cheese fades. The sun goes down, and the heat of the day evaporates into the thin, biting air of the Laconian valley. Now, the real enemy arrives. Not the whip. Not the hunger, the cold. To understand the boy shivering under the olive tree, you have to understand the machine that built him. You have to strip away your modern comforts, the soft mattress, the thermostat, the 3 square meals. You have to imagine a world where comfort is treated as a poison. At age 7, the boy was taken from his mother's lap. He was soft then. He cried. He had a name that was spoken with love. But the Agoge does not want soft things. By the time he is 12, the boy has forgotten what warmth feels like. Picture this. It is the dead of winter. The wind howls down from the Tagatos Mountains, carrying frost that snaps branches. And you are wearing one cloak. Just one. They call it the hymation, a rough, scratchy square of wool. It is your blanket, your coat, your towel, your roof. You are given one per year. It becomes stiff with dirt and sweat. It reeks. But you clutch it around your shivering shoulders like it is made of gold, because it is the only shield you have against the night. You do not wear a tunic underneath. Underwear is for the weak. Shoes are for women. You walk barefoot on the frozen ground until the soles of your feet turn into leather, hard enough to crush thorns, numb enough to ignore the ice. And when the exhaustion finally drags you down, where do you sleep? There are no beds in the barracks. There is only the floor. But you are allowed to make a nest. Imagine walking down to the banks of the river Eurotas. The water is freezing, black and fast. Growing in the mud are tall, sharp reeds. The rules of the Agoge are strict here. You cannot use a knife to cut them. A knife is a tool, and you are not yet worthy of tools. You must use your hands. Can you feel it? The stalk of the reed is fibrous and tough. You have to twist it, snap it, tear it. The edges are like razors. They slice into your palms. Your fingers go numb from the cold water, and warm blood mixes with the river mud. You carry these bundles back to the barracks and pile them on the stone floor. That is your bed, and in the winter, when the cold is so deep it feels like your heart might stop between beats, you mix thistles into the reeds. Spiky, sharp thistles. Why? Because the itching, the burning sensation of the thorns against your skin, it brings blood to the surface. It creates a phantom heat. You choose the pain of the thistle over the death of the freeze. That is the choice Sparta offers you every single night. Pain is not an accident here. Pain is the curriculum. And then there is the hunger. Always the hunger. The Paidonomos, the warden of the boys, he is a man chosen for his cruelty. He measures out the food. He looks at the growing boys, their bones lengthening, their muscles desperate for fuel, and he gives them half of what they need. He watches the light in their eyes dim. He watches the baby fat melt away until the skin pulls tight over the ribs, until the knees look like knobs of granite. He is not starving them to kill them. He is starving them to hollow them out. He is scraping away the child. He is scraping away the empathy, the gentleness, the hesitation. He is carving out a space inside the human soul where something else can live, something colder, something useful. The hunger teaches you to look at the world not as a playground, but as a larder. Every shadow is a hiding spot. Every stranger is a target. Every meal is a victory. So when you see Lykos stealing that cheese, when you see him taking the whip across the legs for a mouthful of fat, you are not seeing a delinquent. You are seeing a masterpiece. He is doing exactly what he was designed to do. He is a wolf cub who has learned to bite. But the Agoge is not done. The cold, the reeds, the starvation, these were just the hammer strokes shaping the metal. The blade is formed. It is sharp. It is hard. But iron is brittle until it is tempered. And tempering requires heat. It requires fire. Lykos lies in the dark, his stomach growling, his legs throbbing from the lash. He pulls his thin cloak tighter. Around him, in the darkness of the barracks, he can hear the breathing of the others, his brothers, his pack. They are all waiting, because they know what happens when the sun comes up. The stealing of the cheese was a game. The sleeping on reeds was a hardship. But the Diamastigosis, the trial of the altar, that is not a lesson. That is an execution of the self. The moon rises, pale and indifferent. The wind picks up. And in the silence, the boys of Sparta wait for the dawn that will bring the blood. The night is long when you are waiting for the butcher. The barracks are silent, but they are not asleep. You can feel the wakefulness in the air. it presses down on the room like a heavy wool blanket. Lying on his bed of crushed river reeds, Lykos stares up at the darkness. He counts the cracks in the ceiling timber. 1, 2, 3. He can hear the wind whistling through the eaves, a low, mournful sound, like a flute played by a ghost. But louder than the wind is the sound of breathing. 50 boys lie around him. Some breathe in shallow, jagged hitches. Others breathe deep and slow, forcing calmness into their chests. No one speaks. To speak would be to admit the fear. And fear, in this room, is a contagion. If one boy whispers, "I am afraid," the whole room might shatter. So they lay in the dark, and they let the silence scream for them. Lykos shifts his weight. The reeds rustle beneath him, sounding like dry bones grinding together. His calves still throb from the whip strike earlier that day. A dull, rhythmic pulse. It is a reminder, a small taste. Tomorrow, it will not be one strike. It will not be a game of cheese and chase. Tomorrow is the Diamastigosis. The older boys have whispered about it. They say the priestess of Artemis stands by the altar, holding the ancient wooden statue of the goddess. They say the statue is thirsty. They say that if the whipping is too light, the statue becomes heavy in her hands, weighing her down until she demands more blood. Lykos closes his eyes, but he sees it anyway. The white marble, the red splatter. He wonders, for the first time, about the limits of his own body. He knows he is strong. He can run for miles with a mouthful of water and not swallow a drop. He can wrestle boys twice his weight. He has learned to eat things that would make a goat sick. But pain? Pure, concentrated pain? That is a different country, and he has never walked to its center. He is terrified, not of the pain itself. Pain is just a signal, a message from the nerves to the brain. He is terrified of the sound of his own voice. In Sparta, a man may die, and he is honored. A man may lose a limb, and he is respected. But a man who cries out? A man who begs? He is erased. He becomes a ghost while he is still breathing. To whimper is to betray your father. To scream is to betray the city. Lykos clenches his jaw until his teeth ache. I will be stone, he tells himself. I will be bronze. To his left, a shadow moves. It is Brasidas, the boy who took the first hit at the cheese altar. Brasidas rolls over, the dry reeds crunching. In the sliver of moonlight cutting across the floor, Lykos sees his friend's eyes. They are wide open, dark pools of anxiety. Brasidas reaches out a hand. It is trembling, just slightly, a vibration in the fingertips. Lykos reaches back. Their fingers brush. A rough, calloused touch in the dark. There are no words. There is no, "It will be okay." There is no, "We can do this." Those are lies, and Spartans do not trade in lies. Instead, the touch says, I am here. You are not alone in the dark. If you bleed, I bleed. The trembling in Brasidas' hand stops. He squeezes Lykos' fingers once, hard, a grip of iron, and then pulls away, rolling back onto his back to face the ceiling. The connection breaks, but the warmth remains. It is a small thing, this brotherhood, but in the freezing cold of the barracks, it is the only fire they have. Lykos looks back at the window. The black square of the night sky is changing. It is turning a deep, bruising purple. The stars are fading, retreating before the coming sun. The dawn is here. The birds begin to sing, ignorant and happy. Outside, the rooster crows. It is a sound that usually signals the start of a day of training, running, wrestling. Today, it sounds like a gavel coming down. The wooden door of the barracks groans open. The hinges scream. A silhouette stands in the doorway, framed by the gray morning light. It is the Paidonomos. He holds a staff in one hand. He does not shout. He does not need to. Up, he says. The word is soft, but it carries across the room like a thunderclap. The goddess is waiting. Lykos sits up. The reeds stick to his skin. He stands, his legs stiff, his stomach empty. He looks around at the other boys rising from the floor. They look like gray ghosts in the half-light. Some are pale, some are shaking. But as they stand, something happens. They straighten their spines. They lift their chins. They lock their fear away in a box deep in their guts. They are not boys anymore. They are offerings. Lykos walks to the door, stepping into the cold morning air. He does not look back at the warm spot where he slept. He looks toward the temple on the hill. The sun is rising. It looks red. The sun is fully up now. It is a blinding, indifferent eye staring down at the valley of Eurotas, the temple of Artemis. Orthia is no longer a place of shadows. It is washed in light. The white marble columns gleam so brightly they hurt the eyes. But today, the white stone is waiting to be painted. The crowd has gathered. The entire city is here. The kings of Sparta sit on their wooden thrones. The Gerousia, the council of elders, watch with critical, narrowing eyes. But Lykos does not look at the kings. He looks at the front row, the mothers. They stand like statues carved from granite. They do not weep. They do not wring their hands. In any other city in the world, in Athens, in Thebes, in Persia, a mother would throw herself across the altar to save her son. But this is Sparta. Lykos finds his mother in the crowd. Her face is a mask. Her eyes are dry. She is not here to comfort him. She is here to witness him. She is waiting to see if she gave birth to a wolf or a sheep. If he cries out, if he begs for mercy, she will not acknowledge him. She will turn her back, and he will be dead to her long before his heart stops beating. The air smells of burning cedar and stale copper. The copper smell is the blood from the boys who went before him. Lykos, the priest says. He steps forward. His legs feel light, detached, as if he is walking on water. He approaches the altar. It is a slab of cold stone, waist high, stained dark in the center. He places his hands on the stone. It is slick, wet. He grips the edge until his knuckles turn white. He spreads his feet. He looks up at the priestess of Artemis. She holds the zoanon, the ancient wooden idol of the goddess. It is a small, ugly thing, black with age. Legend says it fell from the sky. Legend says it demands blood to remain light. If the whip does not strike hard enough, the statue becomes heavy in her arms, weighing her down, demanding more force. She nods. The first lash falls. Crack. It is not pain, not at first. It is a shock that rattles his teeth. The ox-hide whip bites into the muscles of his back, digging a trench from shoulder to hip. Lykos gasps, a sharp intake of air through his nose. He does not open his mouth. Crack. The second blow lands across the first. Now the pain arrives. It is a hot, searing line of fire. It feels as if his skin is being unzipped. Crack. The third. The fourth. The world begins to narrow. The vision tunnels. The bright white marble dissolves into a blur. All that exists is the rhythm. The whistle of the air, the wet impact, the fire. Somewhere, far away, he hears the crowd. They are silent. 1,000 people holding their breath. They are feeding on this. This is not torture. It is liturgy. It is a sacrament. His blood is the wine. His silence is the prayer. He feels a warm trickle running down his side, over the waistband of his tunic. It is his own life leaking out. He wants to scream. The urge rises in his throat like bile. It presses against his teeth. It would be so easy. Just one sound, just one whimper to let the pressure out. Don't, a voice in his head whispers. Don't you dare. He bites his tongue. He bites it so hard he tastes fresh salt in his mouth. Crack. His knees buckle. He slips on the slick stone. He catches himself. He stands up straighter. He looks at the priestess. She is staring at him, her eyes wide, glassy, fanatical. She lifts the wooden statue higher. She is signaling the whip-bearers. Harder, she is saying. The goddess is not satisfied. The man with the whip steps closer. He is sweating. He grunts with the effort of the swing. The leather tip tears a piece of flesh from Lykos' shoulder. Lykos' eyes roll back. He is leaving his body now. He is floating above the altar, looking down at the small, broken boy. He sees the red ruin of the back. He sees the white of the ribs exposing themselves to the sun. Red marble, white bone. It is beautiful. It is horrifying. He looks at his mother one last time. She has not moved, but her chin is lifted. There is a glint in her eye. Is it pride? Is it sorrow? It does not matter. He locks his gaze on hers. He pours all his agony, all his fear, all his childhood into that look, and he crushes it. He forces the scream back down into his belly. He swallows the fire. The whipping stops. The silence that follows is louder than the thunder. The only sound is the dripping of blood onto the stone. Lykos sways. The world tilts on its axis. He does not fall. He turns. His back is a mutilated map of violence. He looks at the crowd. He is 12 years old, and he is ancient. He has looked into the face of death and refused to speak its name. He is no longer a boy. The boy died on the altar. The thing that stands there, dripping red onto the white dust, is made of iron. The cheering stops. The crowd disperses. The spectacle is over, and the citizens of Sparta go home to their dinners, to their wine, to their warm beds. But for you, the day is not over. It has just turned into a long, gray tunnel of aftermath. Lykos is dragged away from the altar. His legs refuse to work. They are not broken, but the connection between his mind and his muscles has been severed by the shock. He feels like a marionette whose strings have been cut. Strong hands grab him under the armpits. They are rough, but not cruel. They are the hands of the older boys, the irons. They drag him to the recovery sheds, a low stone building that smells of vinegar, sulfur, and unwashed wool. They lay him down on a bench. He cannot lie on his back. The flesh there is hamburger. So he lies on his stomach, his cheek pressed against the cool, rough wood. Then comes the cleaning. If the whipping was the fire, this is the ice. An old helot servant approaches with a clay jar. He pours wine mixed with vinegar over Lykos' back. The scream that Lykos held back at the altar tries to escape now. His body spasms, arching off the bench like a landed fish. The sting is absolute. It feels like a million red ants biting at once, but he is too exhausted to vocalize it. All that comes out is a dry, rattling hiss. Still, the helot grunts. He begins to stitch. The needle is thick. The thread is gut. There is no numbing draft. There is no opium. You feel every puncture, every tug of the thread pulling the tattered edges of your skin back together. But Lykos is drifting. He is staring at the corner of the room, watching a spider weave a web. He watches the spider work, methodical and silent. He feels a strange kinship with it. The spider does not feel. The spider just does. Hours pass. The bleeding stops. The throbbing settles into a permanent heavy hum in his spine. Lykos sits up. He is lightheaded. He feels strangely hollow. It is a physical sensation, as if the whip did not just take skin, but scooped out the insides of his chest. The fear is gone. The hunger is gone. The childish desire to be held is gone. There is just space. Empty, cold space. He stands up and walks unsteadily toward a basin of water near the entrance. Beside it leans a polished bronze shield left by one of the guards. Lykos looks into the metal. The face staring back is familiar, yet utterly alien. It is the face of a 12-year-old boy. The dirt is still there. The sweat streaks are still there. But the eyes are different. Yesterday, those eyes were wide. They were curious. They were the eyes of a boy who liked to run, who laughed when he stole cheese, who feared the dark. The eyes in the mirror are flat. They are the eyes of a shark. They are still black pools that reflect the world but absorb nothing. They have seen the worst that men can do, and they have realized that it can be endured. He touches his own cheek. The reflection touches its cheek. But Lykos feels nothing. He feels like he is operating a machine. This body, this damaged, bleeding thing, is just a tool. It is a spear. It is a shield. And he is the pilot, sitting somewhere deep inside, protected by a wall of numbness. He realizes then what the Agoge has done. They did not want to kill him. They wanted to kill Lykos. Lykos the individual, the boy with dreams, with preferences, with a favorite color, was a liability. He was weak. He could be broken, but this new thing, this hollow vessel, you can pour duty into it. You can pour orders into it. You can pour violence into it, and it will never spill. He turns away from the mirror. He looks at the other boys in the room. They are all bandaged. They are all limping. They catch each other's eyes. There is no high-fiving. There is no celebration. There is just a silent, terrifying understanding. They are no longer separate people. They are bricks. A brick alone is useless. A brick alone is brittle. But when you stack them, when you mortar them together with blood and discipline, you build a wall that can break an empire. Lykos walks back to his mat. He lies down on his stomach. He does not cry. He does not dream. He waits for the next order. You think it is over. You sit by the fire, nursing your wounds, and you tell yourself that you have climbed the mountain. You survived the hunger. You survived the cold. You survived the altar of Artemis, where the wood drank your blood and the stone tested your silence. You think you have earned your rest. You think you are a man now. But Sparta does not rest, and Sparta is not interested in men. It is interested in monsters. A week passes. The scabs on Lykos' back are turning into thick, silvery scars. The skin is tight, pulling every time he reaches for a spear. He wears these scars like medals. They are the proof of his endurance. But then the summons comes. It is not a public call. There is no trumpet blast. There is no gathering in the square. It happens at night. A hand shakes him awake. Lykos opens his eyes. Standing over him is one of the ephors, the 5 overseers of the state. These are men who answer to no one, not even the kings. They are the true architects of this machine. The ephor puts a finger to his lips. "Come," he whispers. Lykos rises. He steps over the sleeping bodies of his brothers, the ones who screamed, the ones who fainted. he leaves them behind. He follows the gray cloak of the Afer out of the barracks, away from the city, toward the edge of the wilderness. The night air is thin and sharp. The moon is hidden behind a bank of clouds. They stop at the edge of the darker woods. The Afer turns. He looks at Lykos, his eyes assessing, calculating. He sees the potential. He sees the emptiness that the whipping left behind. "You bore the lash well, Lykos," the Afer says. His voice is like dry leaves skittering on stone. "You have learned how to suffer. That is good. A shield wall is built on suffering." He pauses. He reaches into his cloak. "But a wall is defensive. Sparta must also have a spear." He pulls out an object and holds it out. It is a knife. It is not a soldier's sword. It is not the xiphos, meant for honorable combat. It is a dagger, short, curved, the kind of blade you use to cut the throat of a goat in the dark. "Take it," the Afer commands. Lykos takes the handle. The iron is cold. It feels heavy, heavier than it should. "You are no longer a boy in training," the Afer says. "Tonight, you enter the Krypteia." The word hangs in the air. The secret thing, the hidden way. Every boy has heard the rumors. They say that the best survivors, the smartest and the coldest, are sent out into the country. They are given no food, no shelter, just a knife and a mission. "The helots are restless," the Afer says. He gestures toward the valley below, where the slave population, the people the Spartans conquered centuries ago, sleep in their mud huts. There are 10 helots for every one Spartan. They are the farmers, the builders, the spine of the economy, and they are the enemy. They grow too strong, the Afer continues. "Find the strongest among them, the one who stands too tall, the one who looks a Spartan in the eye, the one who might lead a revolt." Lykos grips the knife. He knows what comes next. Kill him. The order is simple. There is no battle. There is no glory. This is not war. This is a culling. Lykos looks at the knife, and then he looks at the dark valley. The whipping, that was physical. That was pain. You can heal from pain. Your skin knits back together. But this is a different kind of surgery. To creep into a farmhouse in the dead of night. To stand over a sleeping man who has done no crime other than being strong. To slide a blade between his ribs and watch the light go out of his eyes. This does not toughen the hide. This blackens the soul. This is the final test. They do not want to know if you can fight. They want to know if you can murder. They want to know if you will put the state above your own conscience. "Go," the Afer says. "Do not return until your blade is wet. If you are caught, you die. If you speak of this, you die." Lykos nods. He wraps his cloak around his shoulders. He turns his back on the city, on the laws, on the light. He steps into the tree line. The darkness swallows him whole. He moves silently, his bare feet finding purchase on the roots and rocks. He is a ghost now. As he descends toward the sleeping farms, a terrifying realization settles in his chest. The Agoge was not trying to make him a soldier. A soldier fights for honor. The Agoge was forging an assassin. He tightens his grip on the knife. The boy who stole the cheese is dead. The boy who survived the whip is gone. What walks into the darkness now is something else entirely. Something Sparta needs, but something that can never, ever be loved. And the night is just beginning.